I'm about to do speed tests, very live tests. I'm even traveling to the Czech Republic to test the cameras and see which one takes better photos and videos. I'll compare absolutely everything between the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, so by only watching this video, you will see which one is definitely the best smartphone in the market. Because starting with the design section, in this generation we finally seen some type of redesign after years of total monotony. The change isn't huge, but the S26 Ultra, in my opinion alert, is one of the most beautiful Galaxy S phones in history. No disrespect to the Galaxy S8, my favorite Samsung and the device truly ahead of its time. The S26 has a refined camera module, aluminium materials, following the same exact path as Apple. A weight and thickness that feels less ultra than expected, more around the edges, something that I've been actually looking for. And the only bad thing that I'd mention is that it doesn't have built-in magnets, like Apple did with the iPhone and later Google with the Pixel. Any official accessory includes them, but not the device itself. Speaking of the iPhone, it gave us a groundbreaking design, along with some controversy, such as how easily it scratches. I confirmed that, yes, it really did scratch quite easily, but only on some sharp corners. It wasn't nearly as dramatic as some people were trying to make it. Design is completely subjective and this section will always be a tie. But even though the iPhone with its size and thickness has clearly tried to be as Pro Max as possible, that doesn't change the fact that, again, opinion alert, for me the S26 Ultra is the best looking Android of 2026. But let's get to the real serious sections. First up, the display. And this year Samsung brought a feature that's completely unique on the market. Finally some real innovation. You've probably already heard about it 1,000 times. The privacy display. And it's really good. It's exactly as advertised. With the press of a button, you activate a privacy panel, and from the side stop or button, you simply cannot see anything on the screen anymore. There are also 2 intensity levels, and you can choose to censor all these certain apps or just notifications that might contain sensitive content. It's an incredible feature, and other brands won't take long to copy it. But hear me out. As a consequence, the viewing angles are always worse, even with the features turned off. As you can see, it has also lost a considerable amount of brightness. The neat ratings already tell the story, but even in real life, the difference is very noticeable. And to top it all off, remember the anti-reflective coating that they added last year, the one that was better than the iPhones. Well, this year, because of that privacy panel, they had to make it worse, and now it's at the same level as, or maybe worse than, the iPhones. I came in fully ready to give the best display section to Samsung, but seeing all the consequences brought by this undeniable impressive feature, I have to keep this as a tie. The iPhone cannot lose this section when it has much better brightness, something crucial, better viewing angles, and even better anti-reflective coating. I'm not alone thinking this has to be a tie, right? Before the battery test, I want to see which one of the two is actually faster, a test that's starting to make less and less sense, seeing that the processors in these phones are almost too good for what you can actually do on a smartphone. It literally automated tests. The difference is measured in seconds or tenths of a second. So this test isn't gonna decide which one you should buy, because both chips are excellent, but rather which one has a higher limit, which one comes closer to a 10 out of 10. For that, I use the most universally trusted application. If this guy uses it, I trust it. And in the test that isolates the CPU from the GPU with identical tests on both devices for file compression, HTML browsing, text processing, etc., I got my first surprise seeing that both, for the first time ever, reached 5 figures. We had already seen Samsung surpass the iPhone in multi-core, mainly due to the small detail that it has more cores, but it has never beaten the iPhone in single core, and while it still hasn't beaten it, it's getting closer than ever. For now, this section will be a tie. So we have the GPU test to decide the winner, for which, as always, Samsung offers 2 APIs. You already know that Vulkan is the best optimized, but just in case, we tried OpenCL first. To push the GPU to its limits, this test applies graphic blur filters and generates particle physics, basically what your computer's graphics card will process. And seeing how the iPhone completes these same exact tasks in half the time, small hint that the result is devastating. But we already knew that the other API was better, so I'll let them rest for a couple of minutes to ensure that the test was rigorous and that the temperatures weren't too high, and the iPhone finished it in a minute, while the S26 Ultra, although faster than before, still lagged behind. Same goes for the results. A 19,000 point difference performing the same exact test on the same version at the same temperature is insane. Again, these are ridiculous benchmarks to then watch reels for 18 hours straight, but if the Samsung Snapdragon is a 9.1, the iPhone's A19 could easily be a 9.8. Speed section for Apple. So far it's winning the comparison, but there's still a long way to go. And hold on, have you noticed the difference in battery percentage even when performing the same exact tasks? Let's see which one actually lasts longer from 100% to 0. I'm not wasting your time. Just one test with fair and realistic usage. Both phones disconnected at the same time, 100% battery, airplane mode, no Bluetooth, only Wi-Fi, and maximum brightness. I don't understand this thing about setting both to the same exact nits. Are they adjusting both chips to deliver the same power? Are they adjusting both operating systems to optimize apps equally? No, each one delivers its maximum and best best possible performance. And now we're in on TikTok, and the iPhone will not drop below 100% still. By realistic usage, I mean that I don't know what you use your phone for, so I'll use low, medium, and very high demanding apps to simulate what everyone does on a daily basis with their phone. In this second hour and a half frying brain cells on IG Reels, we'll see that they only end up with a 2% difference. And by the way, if you're watching this video, I probably don't even have 1,000 subscribers yet. My goal is 100,000 before the end of 2026, but let's get to 10,000 first, right? Bro, like, give me a hint. Third app, undeniably realistic, Google Maps, simulating driving from New York to Los Angeles. Don't know if you noticed, but the difference in brightness with both a maximum is brutal. I'm even thinking about changing the screen style. And here, it seems that Samsung's failure to improve the battery capacity is taking its toll, because in just 90 minutes of navigation, there's almost a 20% difference. Shouldn't Google be better optimized for Android? The next app continues in the same branch of realistic ones, especially for those of you who commute by train during rush hour. Video calls. I don't want to read a single comment that this phone is the real MVP of the test. Not one. After an hour of calls, the difference widened to 21 points.
21.
With the iPhone maintaining a solid 67%. At the 5-hour mark, I had them play a medium demanding game, something you'd use every day, and after a full 60 minutes, both phones' percentage dropped, but the difference didn't change much. It was now 19 points. It seemed that what really hurt Samsung was Google Maps. For the 6th hour, I had them play 4K YouTube videos, and their scores only dropped 5-6% during the entire hour. For the final stretch, I had them run graphics performance test for half an hour. Unfortunately, the scores aren't adjusted enough to be included in the speed test, but they still push their internal components to their limits. Both phones suffer here, although less than in previous years, thanks to the heat dissipation of their vapor chambers. This brought us to 7.5 hours of testing, and I had them record in 4K 60 FPS, something very common these days. This left the S26 Ultra with only 3% battery remaining, while the iPhone still had 26%. Finally, I used the CPU benchmark up from before, since these tests aren't as demanding, and allowing us to see the final percentages drop in real time. And it didn't take long, with the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra being the first to fall after 8 hours and 13 minutes of testing. A more than respectable result considering the ads I've been using, but it fades to the background with the iPhone still having over 20% battery remaining. I had to keep testing and testing and testing. Yes, this was 6:53 AM. I think I deserve to have a couple thousand subscribers, right? Already knowing it was the winner, I put it through the most demanding tests of the other app. Even then, I had to keep testing and testing and testing until an hour after the Samsung had shut down, and clocking 7:30 AM without having slept. The iPhone 17 Pro Max used the last remaining percentage, with over 9 hours of battery life, and leaving the S26 Ultra far behind. It's clear that Samsung should perhaps consider switching to silicon carbon batteries like many Chinese brands. Battery section by a landslide for Apple. So far it's 2-0, but there are still more sections, the most important ones I'd say, to be decided. First one of them, cameras, with photos and videos, where to test them, and using the money I still don't earn from these videos, I traveled to Prague, Czech Republic. Comment down below where I should go to make the next comparison. And I love that this year we actually have some new interesting things to test, like the ultra stabilization from Samsung, how has it improved also with low light, or the almost perfect camera from Apple, backed by literal NASA taking only iPhones to the moon. We'll start by comparing the photos taken with the ultra-wide lens, and if both were good in previous years, now they're practically perfect. Depending on the photo, one or the other wins. In this one, I prefer the iPhone's definition. In this, the Samsung is equal or slightly better. Here, with the infinite tower of bugs, Apple captures better detail in both the center and the edges. The Samsung loses a lot. But then in the next one, I might prefer the color on the right, but the S26 Ultra ends up capturing better definition. At this point, both are very good. The differences are very small. The iPhone usually has slightly better dynamic range, maintaining better shadows and a blue sky, but even in low light, I haven't been able to find many differences. In images like this, practically the only thing that changes is a little color and some image noise, just like in this one, or this one. If I have to go looking for so many details, it's because both are really good. The only thing that separates them is a slightly superior dynamic range of the iPhone, and that depending on the photo, the Samsung will produce a little bit more noise. And opinion alert, the iPhone will maintain a more aesthetically pleasing color, and that is by no means enough to decide a clear winner in the ultra wide angle mini section. So let's move on to a more interesting one, megapixels. In this one, we're judging the main lens with 248 megapixels. Beautiful picture, by the way. And this year I was actually surprised, like really, because we already know that without zooming in, both are excellent. But in previous generations, there was a huge difference between these two in this section. But now you can read this text perfectly in both. Paul, you could. Same goes for this image. Would you honestly say that one of the two has 4 times more megapixels than the other? In this one, when you zoom in, they look like the exact same image processed in different ways, not very far from each other. No matter the context, you'll almost always notice only slightly more contrast on the Samsung and little else, and that ends up leaving a bit to luck which one of the two is gonna get better resolution. In this one, for example, I see the iPhones as clear, but in this library, it's not the Samsung that defines more each object. This means that in a section where one should be winning due to better resolution, it ends up being decided by who catches better color. In this photo, if you zoom in, you can see that the S26 Ultra has a slightly better resolution, but the color, both what I saw with my eyes and what I prefer in the image, is the one on the right. Samsung introduced 200 megapixels many years ago and has remained still there, while Apple keeps improving other aspects of the lens, which aren't necessarily related to megapixels, and that makes me prefer the iPhone in this image, once again. However, when we get to nighttime, it's time to applaud Samsung's job, because they finally improved the lens aperture, and now they take truly excellent photos at night. In previous years, it was very unstable in any less than perfect conditions, and with this S26, they've taken a big step forward. In this text, you see a difference of 152 megapixels? Wouldn't say so, but in terms of light, both are excellent. Besides that, the iPhone has always been an expert in night mode, and in this Apple fanboy's Lamborghini, I still see how it handles better dark areas. This year, for the first time in a long time, Samsung doesn't lose, because it has an impressive lens, especially with its improved low light performance. However, it does die in the main lens mini section. Apple, without increasing the megapixel count, it's improving many aspects of its main lens, enough to deserve not to lose this category. So we are in a total tie, which means that the winner of the whole photo section will be decided by who has the better zoom lenses. And I don't want to sound repetitive, but they again look like the same photo with a tiny bit of different color. Here with a friend eating an orange. If you told me both photos are taken from the same phone, I'd believe it. We have to keep in mind that only Samsung has a dedicated 3x zoom lens. The iPhone has to do digital zoom from the 1x lens. But since the 3x is only 10 megapixels, there are times where the iPhone's 1x doing digital zoom beats it in quality. I am a loyal defender of the more cameras the better, but I feel that Samsung is leaving this 3x to abandon for decoration. In some moments, it may take a better photo, but little by little it's falling behind in quality. I'm not gonna criticize it, cause at least it has one, but they should give a little attention to this lens and improve it a bit. But let's go with the protagonists, the 5x of the S26 Ultra and the 4x of the iPhone, which I zoomed in a bit more so the photos are equal. These ones do get attention, which brings us back to the situation that they once again differentiate themselves by some contrast in color finishing and little else. Both are among the very best on the market, aside from some Oppo or Vivo phones. Opinion alert, and you can call me a fanboy, but I've never really been in favor of the extra contrast Samsung puts on some of these photos, but there's not much else to blame, because this year they improved the exposure control of this zoom lens, and where previous generations maybe would have left this area blown out, now it captures it even better than the iPhone, just like in this one, where I prefer Apple's color, fanboy alert, but the S26 Ultra captures the shadows better. And speaking of color, with this officer, I do not lean toward either one or the other. His skin was neither that smooth or that porous, somewhere in between, but both the hat and the rest of the clothes, in quality and color, are captured better by the iPhone. But we are talking about zoom, and they're playing for the entire photo section. So from 5x, I zoomed in up to 15x, and here they did take very different photos. They look like different rooftops. The iPhone's much better, but Samsung, once you go past 25x, I don't know what processing it has, but it pulls details out of nowhere. It's brutal. You have to pray that it works, because sometimes it doesn't. Here the iPhone is a million times better, but when it does, it's practically the best zoom on the market. Another example, from here we put 5x, and we could talk about color, contrast, whatever you want. But I zoom in 40x, and out of nowhere, the S26 Ultra achieves an impressive definition in detail, not forgetting that it can reach up to 100 times zoom. The iPhone only 240. We actually knew that from previous years. What I did not know is that it had improved so much at night, not only on the main lens. It has some more imperfections in the sky, classic from the Korean brand, but in terms of quality, they are practically identical. Hats off for how much they improved since the S25 Ultra, and this really is always the case. At 5x, both similar. Talk about color, blah blah blah. But past 25x, Samsung activates Ultra Instinct mode. Again, pray for it to work. This is the fifth and best photo I could take with the S26 Ultra at 10x, but at 25x, while the iPhone cannot even focus properly because of how little light there is, the Samsung focuses, leaves everything with perfect exposure, and even lets you distinguish the stairs of the tower. And again, without forgetting that it can reach 100 times. In any 5x photo, or even up to 10x, it would be a tie. I could even argue to give the victory to the iPhone, but from 25x up to 100 times, Samsung destroys it. So I truly believe the fair thing is to give the zoom mini section to the S26 Ultra, which therefore leaves it as the winner of the entire photo section. You have seen and have been able to judge the photos for yourself between one and the other. Apply it to your personal use and decide your own winner. For me, it's Samsung. So it's time to continue with the video section with some really cool new features. Starting with the ultra wide videos, Apple has been winning this category practically since this lens was introduced. It handles very bright highlights like direct sunlight better, and above all, it's wider, the sole purpose of this lens. This video demonstrates both the much better dynamic range and the better resolution of the iPhone, even though there's only a 2 megapixel difference in favor of Samsung. For everyday use and uploading your weekly Instagram story, either one will do. They're both very good. With decent lighting and without too many shadows or highlights, there isn't much difference between them. I waited in line 2 hours to film this video. Enjoy, take a good look. And I do appreciate the iPhone's wider angle and how it captures more detail in areas with challenging lighting, because at night the same thing happens. Both struggle with stabilization, but the iPhone achieves much better quality and perfectly exposes reaches this tower, while the Samsung completely burns it. The S26 Ultra has definitely improved at night. This video is very good with both lenses, but notice how the iPhone exposes the interior of the tram much better? Samsung improvements are noticeable, but I think that in these videos, which they opened the Royal Palace of Prague exclusively for me, I still see better angles and dynamic range on the iPhone. So first video mini section for Apple. Now we move on to comparing the main lens, and we continue with the story that the iPhone still doesn't film in 8K. It could only do a maximum of 4K, and I'm gonna take everything into account, color, light, and so on. But hey, you can literally see double the resolution on Samsung. Double. As I said, judging colors, how they handle shadows, it's one thing, but the difference in resolution doesn't make sense, being both phones from the same generation. The iPhone gets humiliated. In practically any situation with good lighting, the video on the left will always look miles better than the one on the right. That will matter more in some videos, like this one, where I'd want to see as much detail as possible, and in others, it won't matter that much, like in this one, where while the definition might be better, only on the iPhone, you can distinguish each of the glasses. As soon as the conditions are not perfect, the iPhone seems to handle it better. Like I said, in this video, you might prefer one or the other depending on your taste, but objectively, the Samsung's video quality is better. But what about this one? First, the iPhone captures the ceiling better, and it instantly adjusts the light so I can see through the window. The Samsung stalls. I'll look downwards so both cameras increase the exposure back, and then pointing at the window again, only the iPhone adjusts the light correctly. It's not until I lean out completely that the Samsung finally adjusts the exposure, and even then, the iPhone surpasses it in dynamic range without overexposing the sun. And this was just a mere spoiler of what was gonna happen at night. Cause let's not forget that Samsung has improved the low light videos with a better aperture and all that, but it's undeniable that the iPhone 17 Pro Max is without a doubt the smartphone that records best at night, handling strong light much better and still leaving the entire image brighter than the Samsung. Whenever the S26 Ultra wins in resolution, the iPhone compensates with subjectively better color and objectively better low light performance. See how it keeps this wall exposed, yet it doesn't overexpose this built-in light. I'll always criticize Apple for not allowing 8K recording, knowing that their lens is capable, judging by the photos it takes, and that it really matters. There's a very noticeable difference in quality between 8K and 4K, but even in 4K, the iPhone always ends up being better than the S26 Ultra in difficult lighting situations or straight up nighttime. At times, they've been capturing more detail while in 4K. So as much as it pains me to say it, I have to call it a tie in the main lens category. Samsung needs to improve significantly at night, even though they're slowly doing it, and Apple needs to finally allow 8K recording. There are cinema cameras cheaper than this iPhone. And pay attention, because here comes the biggest surprise I've had in the entire process of recording this video. In this zoom mini section, you'll understand why. Because first, just like before with the photos, if you told me that these daytime videos were recorded with the same exact phone, I'd completely believe you. Both capture very good detail, are quite well stabilized, and handle well the highlights. Similarly in this case, and this is a completely subjective opinion, I prefer the iPhone's color. But going up to 25x zoom, they have the same exact quality. Now, opinion again, I prefer the contrast that the Samsung adds. It makes you perceive more detail. So let's start with the surprises. First, appreciating the dynamic range of, now confirmed, all the iPhone lenses. Even with direct sunlight hitting the camera, it manages to avoid overexposure and produce much better quality at 10x zoom. Also, the 17 Pro Max, with its slightly larger aperture, creates a bit of background blur in the videos, which looks very aesthetically pleasing, just my opinion. But we're talking about zoom and video, so one of the most important things to compare is the transition between cameras. To make it completely fair, I connected a remote shutter to both, so I could zoom in the same exact way. The video should be the same exact on both. The iPhone's transitions are quite good. You can see the jumps, but they're fairly smooth. Let's move on to the Samsung. Exactly the same shutter. Wait, hold on. Maybe it's because I wasn't recording. But it won't look like that in the final video, right? And controlling it manually doesn't improve it either. It's a complete disaster at this. It's a simple detail, but seeing the difference between one and the other, well, let's see what this guy thinks about it. Yep, fair. But now for real, pay attention again. Cause you remember what I said before about having the biggest surprise in this section? Well, this is it. When night falls, I don't know what magic Samsung has applied, and even more, why haven't they applied it to their photos, but their videos with the zoom lenses deliver a humiliating blow to Apple. Practically unprecedented. Look at this video with 10x zoom at night. The roof, the details in the water, the people in the restaurant, even the stabilization, or the detail on the Prague castle when switching to 25x zoom. How can it film so well at night and then have the main lens section tight exactly because it didn't record well at night? And this wasn't just a fluke or situational. All the videos with the Samsung zoom lenses are much better. In this one, it captures better detail and better colors in the flag. In this one, it achieves much better resolution and doesn't have as much noise as the iPhone, although he handled highlights on streetlights and some illuminated buildings a bit better. The transitions between lenses in the left video is terrible, but the overall quality is miles better. So I honestly think that everything on what Samsung loses, such as dynamic range, slightly worse daytime quality, and especially the all-4 transition between its cameras, which I consider quite important, is offset by the far superior quality it achieves at night. nice. So I don't think there's any other option than a tie in the zoom mini section. Once again, you know what you film and what you use it for. Decide your winner based on the 300 videos I've shown you. But now to decide the winner of the entire video section, we have the final mini section, special modes, the slow motion, the new super stabilization mode, cinema and logarithmic mode. Things haven't changed much in the slow motion mode, because on the iPhone it looks like a normal, because on the iPhone it looks like a normal, because on the iPhone it looks like a normal, because on the iPhone because on the iPhone it looks like a normal 4K video, while on the Samsung, even though it's also 4K, the quality drops significantly in this mode. It's not just the lighting or color, it's the resolution itself. To make matters worse, the Samsung also captures a less wide angle using digital zoom, which further reduces the video quality. The difference is quite noticeable, even more so at night. The iPhone leaves all the buildings relatively well lit, while in the Samsung video they practically disappear. Then, with good lighting on the tram, they get closer. But as soon as the light worsens, the Samsung becomes almost unusable. More of the same in this last video. Look at the difference inside the train or in the building. Besides the fact that the true color is the one on the right. I don't think I'm getting on the tram today. But anyway, slow motion by a lot for Apple. Continuing with the special modes, we come to the most special one of all, Samsung's Ultra Stabilization mode, the horizontal lock. Besides the action mode, which both phones have, they've added a surreal mode that completely locks the horizon. You choose between horizontal or vertical with either lens, and it becomes completely stable. It's surreal. So if you set both phones to film and even turn them completely around, both filming the same exact situation, the final video from the Samsung will be perfectly still. It's incredible that this isn't processed later on the Photos app. You see it live while filming. This mode, aside from being a marketing gimmick, is designed for when you're filming while running or from a mobile location. So even if you film like a complete idiot, here's a clear example. I'm not getting paid enough to be doing this in public. I'm not getting paid at all. The video with the Samsung mode will look, if not like it was filmed on a tripod, at least like it was shot on one of those heavy gimbals. And I think the most impressive thing of all is that it works exactly the same at night. It doesn't require as much light as the action mode. It works in any situation. I think it deserves to be on par with the slow motion mode. So for now, we're on a one-to-one tie in special modes. In cinema mode, which creates an artificial background blur, the iPhone already seems to be slightly better at first glance. It's not just the edge detection, but the noise the S26 Ultra creates in dark areas, like here on the Ukrainian bandura. Yup, that's the name of that instrument. I'm a man of culture. But ironically, the one that's gonna win this category isn't gonna do so because of better color, better quality, or better edge detection, mainly because both are good. Don't ask me what this thing is called. Rather, the iPhone is gonna win it because it's the only one that lets you edit afterwards. From the Photos app, not only the amount of bokeh you want, which in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, seems more realistic on the iPhone, but also what you want to focus, allowing you to create sequences entirely to your liking and have the focus change throughout the video. So with this, it's 2-to-1 for Apple in special modes. And the last mode, logarithmic recording, for professionals or nerds. I won't say which one of those I am. And again, unfortunately, the choice is going to be based on options, not objective video quality. Because in case you didn't know, logarithmic mode leaves this grayish tone originally because it captures the maximum range possible of light and color, leaving you with a blank canvas, so to speak. So you can then adjust the light and color entirely to your liking. But the options I'm talking about are, first and foremost, the ability to film 4K on the device, something you'd take for granted on the big 26, but the iPhone still doesn't allow. In this mode, if you don't have an external hard drive connected, it only lets you film in 1080p, even on the 2TB iPhone 17 Pro Max worth more than $2,000. No, 1080p. Add to that the fact that the S26 Ultra has lots creative color adjustments already included in the app, and that you can customize countless controls to your liking in the app. Samsung wins this section by a wide margin. So 2 micro sections for Samsung and 2 for Apple result in a tie in the special modes mini section. This leaves every section tied but the ultra wide angle one that the iPhone took, which means that it narrowly wins the entire video section. The last section to decide the winner is, of course, the extras/AI section, and Samsung specializes in this. It includes extras such as the iconic S Pen, which is always good to have, although they've been making it worse for years, first by removing Bluetooth and now by making it only connect in a specific direction when before it was reversible. It brings more AI features to the Photos app, not just the eraser from previous years or the object creator, which wasn't very useful. Now there's a modifier through prompts, where by selecting or simply mentioning something lets you change specific things of the image, and in a very realistic way. And especially if you ask it to change something specific, it leaves the rest intact and unmodified, something that many AIs struggle with. It also lets you merge images, like adding the CN Tower in the middle of Prague. I think it's spectacular that this is integrated into the Photos app. Oh, and you can also apply artistic styles to your photos. A nice touch. Something that shouldn't be extra, but seeing what Apple is doing, I have to mention it, is the assistant. Not only can you have Gemini, but you can also use Voice Live to talk to the assistant and even share your screen so it can explain to you what something is or how to do it. And to top it all off, if you want, you can even have Perplexity as your assistant. They are miles ahead of Apple. I'll mention their extras now, because the last relevant thing to mention about the S26 Ultra is that they've finally integrated spam call detection and an answering machine that filters them, just like Apple did last year, and I consider one of the most useful features integrated in recent years. And another excellent feature is the new document scanner, which combines the camera's high quality with a little AI assistant seconds to scan and convert any document to PDF with perfect image quality. A real game changer. From Apple's side, I need to calm down for this part. We'll start with their first spectacular extra, the capture button. Possibly the biggest failure in Apple's recent history, neck and neck with Apple Intelligence. Nobody uses it. It's useless. Why control the zoom or mode from here when you have a nearly 7-inch screen to do it? It's a shortcut for the camera app, but they already included the action button for that. Wow, disaster. In the Photos app, the only AI function is the eraser, and not only it's noticeable worse than Samsung's, but it sometimes takes a good minute to process the image before letting you select anything. Wow. And finally, Siri, the new Siri, as they said more than a year ago. The same Siri that if you want to know the time in China, for example, you have to ask, what time is it in China? Because if you get straight to the point and say, time in China, it takes you to the navigator. It was really hard to understand what I wanted to know, right? It's 2026, gang. But anyway, the entire extra section is for Samsung. One of the clearest things on the video. So, with all the sections finished, it's time to announce the winner of the entire video. Design was a tie, and so was screen, due to the quality of one and the innovation of the other. Speed went not by much to Apple, as well as the battery section, where Samsung needs to improve considerably. Up to this point, it was 2-0, but the S26 Ultra was gonna win the photos category because of its excellent zoom. The video's result was gonna go to the opposite way, thanks to the iPhone's incredible wide-angle lens, which means that even though Samsung won the last section of extras and AI by a landslide, the final result was 3-2. And as I've said many times, you've seen all the tests and results with your own eyes. Apply them to your daily use and consider which one suits you the best. But numerically, and being as objective as possible, the winner of this comparison is the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. And the ticket to comment costs a subscription to help me to get to 10,000 subs. For 2 comments you also have to like, you know, today's economy, and 3 comments are not allowed. Will be greedy from you.